Hi, everyone. Good evening. Hello. My name's Heather Meckelson. Welcome, students and guests, to the third lecture of our ArtNow speaker series for the spring of 2024. Thank you for joining us tonight to hear from Columbia's own Niki Nolin. As always, I'd like to express my gratitude to our support team in the department and beyond who make these events possible. Dean Rosita Sands of the School of Fine and Performing Arts, our chair, Duncan McKenzie from the Art and Design Department, Gino Ordaz, the department's indispensable administrative assistant, Tai Chen in the production booth, as well as our graduate assistant, Andre Barker. We are pleased to continue providing ASL interpretation. Thank you, Alex and Olivia, for your work tonight. The ArtNow speaker series provides our students and our community an accessible, timely introduction to the multiple worlds of contemporary art and current art discourse. By presenting a diverse scope of artists, curators, historians, and critics, the program reflects our department's commitment to diversity and social justice. The international, national, and Chicago-based individuals that we hear from offer a rich range of perspectives, practices, and professional pathways to consider. Tonight's lecture is Not a Straight Line with Columbia College Art and Design Associate Professor Niki Nolin. Her work considers the intuitive gaps and leaps of faith between words and images with the aim of uncovering the visual associations of thought, play, and choice. Blending multiple art techniques like painting, drawing, photography, and installation with motion, interaction, and poetry, Niki's practice continually explores, the spaces between intuition and information in both the analog and the digital. Her ongoing work reveals a clear joy in collaboration and the synergy she finds between her studio practice and teaching. She has worked in collaborative partnerships with community art centers, artists, poets, and dancers to support and share women's stories, all of which produces singular works in video and painting that center around women, agency, and change. Niki's career began at Rockford College, where she earned her Bachelor's of Fine Arts in painting. After working for several years in galleries and museums, she completed her MFA degree in art and technology at SAIC. During her last semester of grad school, Niki began teaching at Columbia, where in 2010, she received the Columbia College Chicago Distinguished Teaching Fellowship. She continues to be an esteemed and valued faculty member in the eyes of her colleagues and with her students, who universally cherish the positive impact Niki makes on their artistic development. Some of Niki's exhibition highlights include the Museum of Contemporary Art Chicago, the Chicago Cultural Center, Womanmade Gallery, Art Chicago, and UCLA. She is currently the co-curator of Greenleaf Art Center, co-curator of the yearly invitational Be Mine exhibition. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Niki Nolin to the stage.
Hi, everyone. So you know that I'm a video artist. Hi, Tate. I just saw you come in. I'm going to be fairly informal today. I know most of you. This will go on for a while. These are digital prints, but I'll talk about those in just a second. After graduating with my BFA in painting from Rockford College, my roommate and I, Susan, flew to Rhode Island to visit our roommate, Lorinda. When the plane landed, Lorinda greeted us, and her East Coast friends asked, which one of us is the oddest? And Susan and I looked at each other, and we both said, we're both kind of odd. And they laughed and said, no, the painter. And then we were like, oh, that's Niki. That's me. I'm the artist. I'm the painter. So I just thought I'd share that because that's kind of the hope that I have when I teach art, that students join me in becoming in the act of becoming the artist and allow intuition and an open mind to inform their work. I'm going to pause for a second. And that's also the beginning of a chapter I just wrote at the invitation of alumni Ava, Mak, and Ali to join Experiments in Art Research, and it's being published by Routledge this spring. So one of my many collaborations that I just really adore. So I'm inspired by my students. I'm inspired by your kindness and generosity, your willingness to leap into new ideas and make them your own, your dreams and hopes and aspirations, and the directions and paths that are both familiar and entirely new to me. They inspire to find the artist that you are and share advice and resources that help you as individuals. So that's kind of what I do here, teaching. And I think some of you know that because I see a lot of you in the audience. And today I'm only sharing a small part of my work because you might have noticed I've been at Columbia for 32 years. I've been an artist for quite a while. So I'm just going to show bits and pieces of it. And I just have to also say that it's terrifying and really satisfying to review those 32 years of work, because trying to make a path through it was the hardest part of this. Joan kept after me going, "Where's my description? Where's my description?" And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. There's a lot of directions I could choose. So anyway, this is the one I did choose. And it's scary because, I really pretty much always just follow my gut and my own intuition. So anyway, the first piece, I'll scroll back a little bit. These are all 8 by 10 or 88 feet by 44 inches. I had them printed down at the Art Institute because they have archival printers for big prints. And they're a series that I created for a collaborative project. My friend Suzanne Cohen-Lang was retiring from the college here, and she challenged a whole group of artists to do work around trees because she loves trees. The only reason she loves trees. So this is what I came up with. It's kind of a combination of photographs and drawings and paintings that I was doing while I was on sabbatical. So I did a lot of traveling, a lot of walking in the woods, and a lot of filming right outside my condo window, and put them all together into this piece. And so they've been shown quite a bit, but they really kind of come from this story of women with their ears on backwards and how women always listen to what's behind them instead of what's in front of them. So there's little faces all the way through. And I'm going to push forward. Come on. There we go. And this is from a long-term series that I've been working on called Skin. This piece is called Eye, Yellow, Nick, Red, and Blue Eyes. And so I took a writing workshop in Rockford, Illinois at the Women's Center, and the class was taught by an 80-year-old nun that wore black silk underwear under her habit. And it was about self-stories. And so one of the things that I was thinking a lot about was aging. And a lot of the women in the room were talking about aging, and it was an all-age audience, everybody from high school age to senior citizen, including the nun, right? So I started thinking about aging quite a bit. So this is not only how my eyes looked when I created this, that's my face. I green screen it with a clay mask and film it in a mirror with a couple of different cameras around. I have to put my glasses back on. And it's just like just this kind of moment that it's like how we investigate how we age, how we see age, and how we see more slowly as we age. So all of those things are happening. Then I'll be quiet for a second. You guys can watch it. There isn't any sound. So I continued working with body parts and kind of fascinated by the changes in the body as we age, how light works in video, and making that comparison to painting, and always kind of working back and forth between painting as a tool within the video space. So thinking about how the eye travels to and through images, and drawing the path the eyes make before the video camera. I literally, green screen everything. So the next one you will see. Those are my lips. This is not the first time you will see them tonight. I tend to use them a lot in things. But, I'm always kind of looking at where technology and traditional processes synthesize back and forth. And this is called Lips I Love You. And it's 2 different versions in 2 different times. And most of these I frame them in really ornate kind of antique frames and hang them on walls like they are paintings. But they're also very interesting when they're absolutely huge. Like this, it kind of freaks me out that they're this big. There are supplemental works to all of these. There's a poster of this called Lips I Love You that it literally says I love you over and over in a poster. There's wallpaper, all kinds of stuff. I'm almost getting ready to do the next version of it. And it's interesting because it's actually, like any self-portrait, it's pretty hard to work on it yourself. How many people like doing self-portraits? Just a few people, right? How many people are like, not so much self-portraits? I know. It's hard. It's hard to look at yourself over a long period of time. This next one, those are my hands, and I was at the Kopi Cafe, and I'd done several versions of my hands, and I just couldn't find the work. You've got the idea, but sometimes you just can't find the work. I was at Kopi Cafe. It's a little coffee shop in Andersonville. It's really fun. And they have the strongest hand dryers in their bathroom. And I was looking, and here is all the skin on my hands moving. I'm like, why does that happen? Who knew that happened? So I filmed it holding the camera under my chin. And then I wanted it to kind of feel like a line drawing. Reaching. That's why there's only one hand, though, because it's really hard to film with. And this is a piece that I just called Neck. This was created for an exhibition called Artoma. My former assistant, Lauren White, did the filming of this for me, so I just was really the model in this one. But Artoma is the art of cancer, and it's curated by my colleague Richard Zide here at the design department in art and design. It's actually a really hard piece for me to make and a really hard piece for me to talk about because it is about having cancer. So I don't talk about it very much. It was a very difficult show to be in. There are literally 65 versions of this one. That's how hard I struggled with finding my way into this piece. But yeah, kind of showing the trouble in the trial. It took about 2 months for me to learn how to talk again. So, very odd situation to be in. I'm fine now. All right. I'm going to move it forward because it makes me nervous.
culver's root. Get these nettles off of me, that milkweed from my mouth. Your thistles, catnips, purple phlox, your funeral mint. You've never seen a mermaid in your long buckwheat life.
That is the beginning of the piece that I worked on with, it's called Moth Fog, and I'm working with the poet Maureen Seaton. Maureen Seaton used to teach her at Columbia too, and we created this project because we had a FIPSI grant in which we were able to combine my digital video class with her graduate poetry class. So the two of them worked together we did this piece as a sample for everybody. So one of my students would match up with one of her poets and they would create something new. It was a really fun class to teach. And then there's another one behind it called Drought, also by Maureen Seaton, the poetry. And that is actually, can you guys see it? It's really hard to see with the lights on in here, I think. Yeah. It's a potato. Seriously, I'm filming a potato. I'd really like to play with the effects and, like I said, make it look more painterly, but it's a heart-shaped potato that I'm filming. Just back in the day, they were called Mino cameras, and they did 800 by 600, and their cameras were about this big, and I carried them around with me everywhere. It was before our phones had video. They had photos, but they didn't have video yet. So, and working with poets is so interesting. Maureen Seaton is a wonderful poet. You guys can look her up. She's so good. We've done a lot of projects together, but, you know, poets are very picky about spelling. So you have to really, really make sure that you put everything in spell checker before you bring it over. But sometimes they spell words purposefully incorrectly. So you always have to double and triple check. And they also always love script fonts, which are very difficult to move because you lose the ascenders and descenders and it makes a mess. So yeah, it's a potato. And just following along with her text. And I love, love, love working with poets because, as you might have noticed, I talk kind of fast and I work kind of fast. Poets slow me down. So I love working with them because they're quiet and calm and they see things much the same way that visual artists do, but with words, and they paint pictures in your mind. It's lovely. This is Trope, and this is the one that is a dialogue.
Where did you hang your invisible cloak?
My invisible cloak with the appliques of defunct constellations?
Your invisible cloak with the phone number for Monster Sushi embroidered in the lining.
I have no such cloak.
You do. It's red.
Ha!
Huh?
How do you know it's red if it's invisible?
Ha!
Ha!
You're saying it's not red?
No.
What color is it then?
I'm not saying it's not red.
Then where did you hang it?
When you put it that way, everyone wears an invisible cloak.
You mean everyone who wears an invisible cloak is invisible?
I mean everyone who wears an invisible cloak is more invisible whether they wear an invisible cloak or not.
You mean a certain invisible cloak?
Pardon?
A certain invisible cloak.
You mean like the red one?
I didn't say that.
You looked like you were going to say that.
What I was going to say was, if everyone who wears an invisible cloak is more invisible whether they wear an invisible cloak or not, then is everyone who wears an invisible cloak wearing a certain invisible cloak?
I am not saying it's not red.
Then where did you hang it? Why do you wear that invisible cloak?
How do you know it's an invisible cloak?
I know.
How do you know?
Because whenever you wear it, you sing. Pause. Pick a trope.
Why do you wear that invisible cloak? Oh, that was very mommy dearest.
Okay. It certainly was. So I just wanted to mention that piece, I was playing with the bag that I held my camera in, and it was gold and glittery, and I was filming it, and it made these wonderful red colors. So I called my friend Maureen, who was working at University of Miami at that point, and said, I made this great red movie. Do you have some red text? And so she met with her friend Sam Ace, and they co-wrote this dialogue. And then I asked my friends Jenny Magnus, who taught here at Columbia, and I asked my friend Patty Conaway, who is an alum from Columbia's graduate program, to do the voices. However, they could never meet in the same place. So Jenny Magnus worked with Dimitri Shub, who was our sound engineer at the time here at Columbia, and that was wonderful. And Patty recorded himself in a stairway. So I had to spend a lot of time cutting and pasting all of their dialogue back together again, but I think it worked out pretty well. It always cracks me up. I love that one. And I've done a lot of work with Maureen and Sam Ace too, that are online and electronic literature and all different kinds of things like that, but not really going to show that today. This next piece is, though, a collaboration, a long-term collaboration. And most of my collaborations are really long, like 10 years, 20 years long, that all of a sudden you'll call somebody up and say, hey, I've got an idea. Do you want to talk about it? And we'll go get some coffee and we'll talk about ideas, or talk on the phone, because they're all over the country and the world now. But this next piece is Suzanne Cohen-Lang, who retired from Columbia. She chaired our graduate program for a very long time. And then it is also Sherry Antoniti, who is a poet that teaches down at the Art Institute. And it's the dancers from Chicago Moving Company here in Chicago. And 3 of our grad students man the cameras for me. So Elizabeth Zeckner and Emily, I forgot Emily's last name. It'll come to me. No, 2 grad students and me. We had 3 cameras. So we had 3 cameras. We had a dance space up on down on the 2nd floor here, a huge raw space that we could dance in. And we brought just a lot of props with us. I brought 3 cameras and grad students and lighting. Sherry read poetry out loud for the dancers to respond to, and Suzanne brought a lot of props. So just move into that.
Stand and hold, or pack quickly and carry. Run after, in front of, because of. Ways we are solid, meaning we can move, be moved, but cannot be shaken. Baghdad. It takes time to build, then rebuild, even longer to balance, turn and stand firm by the soles of our feet, firm too by the tops of our heads. We bear both light and weight. Gravity's pull against our push is heaven's tug, and our robes become more beautiful with each stain. 100 tears, sewn, carved, rubbed, hundreds of years of heavy night passing, cracking, straining against, but then always into delicate new day. Gold sunrise as I walk. stand and hold, or pack quickly and carry. Run after, in front of, because of, ways we are solid, meaning we can move, be moved, but cannot be shaken. Baghdad. It takes time to build, then rebuild, even longer to balance, turn and stand firm by the soles of our feet, firm too by the tops of our heads. We bear both light and weight. Gravity's pull against our push is heaven's tug, and our robes become more beautiful with each stain. 100 tears, sewn, carved, rubbed, hundreds of years of heavy night passing, cracking, straining against, but then always into delicate new day. Orleans, Vietnam, Warsaw, Sydney, Beirut, Kuwait, Sarajevo, Bangladesh, Indonesia, Hiroshima, Bosnia, Baghdad. Grandmother is here, gold sunrise on white wall, and motherly breeze, like early morning, clean sheets, open windows, tubs.
So this piece really is about all of the wars that were going on at that time, thinking about the Gulf War in the Middle East, not unlike things are right now with Ukraine and the Middle East. And we were thinking a lot about the caryatids, the pillars down at the Museum of Science and Industry that hold the world on their heads, right? And we were thinking about how women are generally not part of the war, but we are the ones that always have to clean it up, to sweep it up, to move the tents, to make a home again from a wreck, right? So that's really what this work was about. And the dancers all improvised. That beginning part was all the dancers just improvising the dances they went along. We didn't have an actual choreographer. They were allowed to do exactly what they wanted in the moment. But you know, it is what women do. So that's kind of that piece. And then we've exhibited this in so many museums. I was kind of joking around that we did the whole tour of the Midwest Museum situation, St. Joe, Michigan, and the Lebesnick Art Center, and all different kinds of places, the Rockford Art Museum, and it was everywhere, it went all around a lot. So that was kind of fun. And the next one is also with Sherry Antonini and Suzanne Cohen-Lang. And Suzanne is a sculptor. I'm just going to scratch through a little bit. There. So her sculptures are in front, and you will see my lips again, but they are all Sherry's words. This one we got to bring to Art Prize in the museum up there. We were asked to be in the museum, so it was a lot of fun. There are 100 little ladies dressed in black dress in everything from bark to condoms to leather, every kind of material that you can imagine. They're all dressed differently. And it's interesting because people find their relatives in those. So the whole idea is little black dress, and then with the lips is all you need is a little black dress and red lips, and you can go anywhere. I think sunglasses, but didn't make it in the cut.
My mother taught me to eat the center of the cabbage, how the heart of it is peppery when picked at cold and raw. I cut the head in half, carve around the middle with my sharpest knife, take a slice of the core, and in that bite, see her and me, younger, at the sink. I run for it, my necklace of delicate red stones tucked deep in a pocket, for endless blocks.
So that piece is about an hour long, actually. It goes on for quite a while. And it's kind of emulating a cocktail party and everything that happens at a cocktail party. So happy things, bitchy things, all the things that happen when people talk to each other at cocktail parties. But it is about, women's truth. You put on this black dress as armor, and you put on the red lipstick, and you go out into the world. So it was a lot of fun to make. Sherry and I worked together so much that the movie's an hour long, and she got me the sound the night before it was due at University of Indiana Gallery, which was a tough timetable. Believe me, it was a long night syncing the sound to that video. But we got to working together so well that we really, most of the time, it just always worked. It was really wonderful. So this next piece is just like a very short snippet of an hour and 15-minute long movie called Here Lies Truth. This one was exhibited at the Cultural Center and also at the MCA. It was kind of organized by Sherry Antonini, but Anita Uwalsh, Brandon Burns, Eli Sabah, Crystal Sabah, Alicia Scott, and myself all worked together over about a year's time to come up with this piece. We were fortunate enough to be able to scrounge and borrow spaces all over town, from the Art Institute to this space here that we've got and on this, or we used to have on the second floor. Yeah, it began by all of us reading the Spoon River anthology and by Edgar Lee Masters, and just really looking at personalities. Has anybody read that? It's kind of a very dark book, Spoon River anthology. Anyway, it's pretty dark stuff. It's about all the people talking to each other in a cemetery. So, but we had a rock band and 3 dancers, and I made a screen out of sailcloth. I worked with sail makers down the street, and I made a screen that's about this size because we rear projected and the dancers kind of came through it in a way. It was really an interesting piece. And yeah, we got to perform it quite a bit in a lot of different areas, but smaller bits than the one we did at the Cultural Center most of the time. So here we go. There's no sound on this one. So we were really asking ourselves kind of different questions, like what are the consequences of speaking one's mind in an effort to convey what is understood to be true? How does one version of the truth play against another? How does being drawn to a particular truth affect our personal memories or even our collective memories of a whole town or city or country? The three dancers are always in this film. They change costumes. They at one point share a costume and bounce out of it. They're wearing gas masks. They're wearing really long tutus. They're wearing all different kinds of clothing in these shows. And they did all kinds of costume changes during our performances as well, which was really interesting in a big empty space with no place to change. So they were very clever about it, actually. And the band was playing rock music for the most part. And yeah, so it was a really beautiful piece, long and slow. And it's just about making kind of absent things present, if that makes some sense. So this next series, this is the beginning of a series that I've been working on for many years called Girl in a Box. And it's Girl in a Box seeks stories, images, words, lies, truths, accounts, tales, and rumors from female identified humans, describing, telling, revealing, expressing the boxes that define, enfold, contain, limit, explain their life. Purpose with intent to share, sustain, inhibit, pledge, engage, promise, understand, or not to enact change. So I've worked with a lot of people on this, including the lovely Melissa Potter and a lot of our alum. And we have a website coming out, but unfortunately my web designer is ill. So we are waiting for them to get better. But this is the beginning of the series, the first piece I did. And it's also, for those of you that are in my class or have been in my class, these are my first laser etch prints that I worked on with the lovely Chris Flynn here at Columbia. And put it back on again. And then I continued taking a lot of photos early on Sunday mornings at the kind of quinceanera shops, ball gown shops, all different kinds of women's clothing shops. And then I would alter those dresses. No heads in the beginning. And these are 4 dresses put together and spinning. There's also a sculpture that goes with this one. This one was in terrain in our friend Kevin Valentine's yard. And I wanted it to feel like a video game, that it bounces off the edges, moves to the top, moves around, circles around a little bit. The logo, Girl in a Box, I had some help from my neighbor that told me, Guy Villa, to move the X in the box off to an angle. Thank you, Guy. It's a quiet piece. It was in a window, and the sculptures were spinning outside, plexiglass cut on the laser cutter. And this is this work from the quinceanera shops and the bridal shops and the baptism shops. And just go driving around. My lovely husband would drive me around and take me to all these places, like right when the sun rose on Sunday mornings when no one was out, so you could take really good photos. Had to do a lot of mapping, which direction the sun was coming up on and where the windows were. They couldn't be on the east side. They had to be on the west side, or on North-South Street was even better, This one is called I don't want to be a gooseberry. It's the beginning of Girl in a Box, but wallflowers. And they're seasonal. And they're all monoprints, but they're digital monoprints on Hahnemühle paper, archival, and they're just one of a kind. I just change them as I go. I don't save anything. I just print it and move on to the next one. And they're all about 13 by 18, 13 by 19. I love Hahnemühle paper. It's just lovely to work with. And we had a really lovely large archival printer. We have a new one now, but it's not as big. These are just different seasons walking around. They're all my photographs. They're all my patterns. They're all just playing and printing, playing and printing. This, pretty obviously is from COVID. I never know if I want to include that or not, but I did. There's about 100 images in this altogether, so I'm not showing you all of them. This is a tribute to Andre. It's a wasp head. And these are some more of my wallflowers, and they're transparent. And there's actually 100 of them, but I'm just showing you one. So they're super hard to photograph. I was trying to get Mimi to help me do that someday. And you guys might have seen this. This was in the faculty exhibition. It's kind of an interesting story because I was listening to something on Audible to keep me calm in the traffic. And it didn't keep me that calm because it was Alice Walker and Gloria Steinem. And they were talking about the church and how, the church was jealous of women, but, we could give life, but they could give everlasting life. It's just a wonderful story. And this is what I'm working on now. These are, the first one up in the corner is from the 2016 Women's March, the first one here in Chicago. And it does have sound on it, and I can give you the link. Well, I'll give you guys all the links, but it's when I started really working with a lot more red. And then these are just cups with glasses coming through. This one down in the corner with the little brick house going over it, the painting is inside the brick house. And I spent a whole summer filming paint on huge paper. It needed to be inside the little house. So, and these are a start of some of the images that I'm working on now. I've been doing these for a little bit of time. They're the result of the red in the background is the filmed paint, and then I painted on top of them. They're kind of fun. They're big, 39 by 60. But now I am working on natural dyes, and these are in Rose Madder, which is a natural dye. Lovely Mel Potter is trying to grow some for us. It takes 2 years to be able to take the roots and boil them. So she and Young and I all have a plant. Mine looks like it might make it, and I found a whole pile of it somewhere. We'll have to talk. But these are really huge paintings. I have big vats that I place them inside of, and I make the dye, and then I kind of manipulate it like paint. But it's not like paint because it really does seep into the porousness of the paper. That one's called Bone. The first one was called Wing. And this one is avocado pits, black beans, and peonies. Making my own dyes and just using them. Sometimes I need to get away from the technology. So this is what I do in my studio most of the time. I make a mess. Really, really make a mess. And most of the time they end up in the videos. So this one's my favorite. That's a Rose Madder one. And I am back at the beginning.